welcome to another edition of Joe's Rod Shop podcast. All right, now before we jump into today's episode, just remember, click that like and subscribe button. If you subscribe to the channel on YouTube, you actually will get a notification every time we upload one. Same as on Spotify and stuff. If you subscribe to the channels, you will actually get notifications every time a new podcast comes out. All right, now over the weekend, this article came out stating that Edelbrock is closing down its headquarters, and it also implied that the company's in trouble and all these people are going to lose their jobs. Now, this is not the case. So I've been working with Edelbrock for the last few months. Obviously, I know what's been happening behind the scenes. So the first thing I did is jump on the mail, and I got hold of my friend Chris, who is the CEO of the Edelbrock Group. And Chris actually said he'll come onto the show and explain to us what's actually been going on. So listen, enjoy this, and let's get the facts straight and know what's going on.
How has things been on your side?
A little bit busy, as you can probably tell. We've got a lot going on, and this week in particular has been really busy.
I think your Monday morning must have been completely crazy after one post that went out over the week. I mean, man, that just caused havoc, didn't it?
It really did. You know, we obviously saw that original post, and then that led to a number of other stories that were kind of spin-off stories. And quite frankly, over the weekend, we thought sanity had to prevail, but it didn't. It just kept going the wrong direction. So Monday was a very busy day of trying to get the right message out, the truthful message of what's really going on with Edelbrock and their relocation.
But I mean, I'm dyslexic, so I'm used to not reading the whole sentence, but I've got an excuse because I'm dyslexic. But it just shows you how people didn't actually read. They read like the first line and stuff and just made it this assumption that Edelbrock is closing. I mean, even though it stated clearly it was just the head office.
Exactly right. And even worse than that, they started drawing conclusions that the company was in some sort of financial distress, which couldn't be further from the truth. We had a fantastic 2020, despite all the challenges of COVID and things of that nature. It was an incredible growth year for Edelbrock as a company. And, we're excited about what's ahead. So, to have the narrative go that direction when it couldn't be further from the truth was incredible.
But the person that wrote the article and that, I mean, that no one, this is the thing that annoys me, no one facts checked. As in made contact with you guys and go, oh, well, we heard this is happening. Is this just a post that went out where someone is just trying to gain followers and gain likes and stuff once again?
Yeah, I think what happened, the best I could tell, is somebody got a hold of the WARN Act letter, which we have to file with the local government.
Yes.
We did that back in around Thanksgiving, actually, so in November. Now, it took a number of weeks before someone finally noticed that, and it kind of bubbled up. But they took it, and they made the story. But the problem is they kind of put some subjective or personalized spin on that. The facts of the letter by themselves are 100% truthful. Yes, there are jobs that are being moved around, but they never contacted anyone at the company and really got the complete story. They simply went off of that and then put their own spin on what those facts meant.
Which means that they missed step one of journalism, is, confirm all your facts and everything and get the story straight before you publish anything. Yeah. This guy.
Yeah, sadly, I think we live in a time where everybody is so pressed to be the first one to get a story out there that they step over those basic tenets of journalism in their attempt to be the first.
I read an article a while back because I had the magazine and stuff, and someone said to me that, and it's especially to do today with social media, and I think I've actually spoken on the podcast about it before. When you post something on social media, you fall under the same rules and guidelines and everything that a journalist does. which means that's why if you put racist slurs or anything like that on Facebook, you can be prosecuted because you're making public, it's become public knowledge or public information. And that's the one thing you would think that someone that writes journalists would actually think about, because I mean this could be a big blowback. I mean, I got the messages, and immediately my first response to everybody was no, there's something else. I know that you guys are moving and this type of stuff. There's nothing big happening. And then I sat and I'm like, man, this could have gone bad. I mean, this could have hurt your shares and the role on the repercussions of this whole thing could have been enormous.
Exactly right. Again, we live in a world to where everybody wants to be the first to break news. Sometimes the facts get lost in the shuffle. For us, I think what happened, it was driven partially. We are a very divided country politically right now.
Yeah.
So you had that element to where a lot of people kind of drove that story because it fit their political viewpoint. California, the restrictions and everything. So it really kind of went out of control. Thankfully, we've been able to get the messaging back into a better spot. At the end of the day, it's probably going to end up being a good thing for Edelbrock because people have been talking about the brand for over a week now. Uh, but it could have been very bad if the truth wouldn't have been out there as quickly as it was.
So do you want to just explain what the steps is? So the headquarters are moving, but you're not shutting the headquarters down for any reason. You guys are mainly just moving to a bigger facility.
Exactly right. When the transaction with CompCams happened about 12 months ago, we ended up with 7 different facilities, campuses across the US. Torrance was one that unfortunately it's landlocked, so there's not room for expansion. And we had duplicate facilities in some ways in about 95 miles outside of Torrance at our foundry. So for those reasons, we decided that that would be one that would be consolidated. We took a lot of the manufacturing that was in that building and we're moving it to Torrance or to the foundry in San Jacinto, California, about 95 miles away. So we're not leaving California. That was part of the narrative, is that we're pulling up stakes and giving the middle finger to the state of California. That's not at all what's happening. It simply is a business strategy that I think anyone in our shoes would understand, that you can't have very expensive facilities and have duplication. So as painful as it is to leave that community, and it is painful because that was part of the Edelbrock legacy, we know that this is going to give us a foundation for additional growth in the future. And that's really what we're doing, is trying to get this organized so we can continue to grow and add other brands well into the future.
But now, this California conversation, I mean, I had Ring Brothers on the show a few days ago, and everyone is worried about this whole thing that California says that no piston cars by 2030, and the impact that that's going to have on the whole industry and everything. And my feedback was, this is going to put a lot more pressure on companies like you guys, that's to see how you're going to keep the rodding industry alive while dealing, because I mean, that's now in your state. I mean, you guys you're like a ground zero there, from where development needs to happen for this.
Yeah, Joe, there is no denying the fact that the industry is going through a period of dynamic change. I tend to believe that it's not nearly as bad as some people predict, because I have articles from 1978 where people were predicting the end of the industry in the US. And here we are in year 2021, and it's probably coming off the strongest year that many people have ever had. So I believe that our industry is extremely resourceful and they're creative. They will find a path through this. And I think the passion that drives the industry in the individual enthusiast is still out there, and it's stronger than ever. We have seen a resurgence throughout the pandemic. People have returned to kind of wholesome blue collar activities of wrenching on cars and having projects of that. And they have cut out a lot of other things in their life, whether by choice or because they had to. I choose to believe that a lot of that will stick, and we'll have a whole nother generation of consumers that have been fueled by this pandemic. So I tend to believe things are not nearly as bleak as many people would tell you. Yes, the government is going to continue to push on alternative energy and push electric vehicles. But I think if anyone wanted to bet me right now whether they'll be able to hit those marks, I would take that bet.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, the the custom industry is enormous. I mean, it is worth billions. And the job lot, I mean, put perspective. Look at the freak out this week with just Edelbrock. Now imagine that is the entire custom industry just in California. I mean, which is the birthplace of the rodding industry. I mean, can you imagine the uproar and the impact that it would have on the US economy? I mean, it would hurt the US to lose the rodding industry or the custom industry would hurt the economy like you can't believe.
Exactly right. I mean, our company alone, we employ almost 1,000 hardworking individuals across this country. If you take that and multiply it across the whole industry, this industry is good for the US, it's good for the world. These are good jobs. These are hardworking blue collar people that both use the product and make the product. So at the end of the day, that always wins out. Politics is what it is. That's their job, is to push agendas, and they have angles that benefit their constituents. But at the end of the day, the will of the people will always win out, and that's the way it's always been. And I choose to believe that that's the way it'll continue to be.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Look, no one will ever stop car builders building cars. That's not the way it is. And if something happens and guys will hit the junkyards. There's a reason why Mad Max cars look so cool. Okay, it's because even in the apocalypse, we're still gonna build cool stuff.
I have two young sons, 9 and 6 years old, and when their friends are around, I often kind of run a test. I'll fire up a good sounding car, and these are kids that have never been exposed to hot rodding. They gravitate towards cool cars, and
obviously,
there's no reason to explain that other than there's something intrinsic in people that appreciate the sound and the experience of cool cars. And that's going to be there. And I don't know how you take that out of the next generation of kids. I think that we're going to continue to change and adapt as an industry. There's no question that there's going to be a lot of change. But we will figure out ways to make electric vehicles cool. We'll make ways to have them sound cool, just like we do with cell phones. I mean, everybody personalizes their cell phones. Who would have ever thought that we would live in a world where people would personalize an electronic device that they carry everywhere with them?
Mm-hmm.
But there's something in our DNA that makes us want to stand out from the crowd, and cars are an extension of that.
I've always said that I think a car is an extension of our personalities more than anything else, and because especially guys that use their cars as daily drivers and stuff, you create such a connection towards it. I mean, yeah, we've seen it with the magazine. If the amount of stories that's come through from a grandfather car or uncle's car and how that car has actually developed such a big part of a person's personality in their lives and that type of stuff. Like I said, it's something I could never see going. It's like when people have a conversation, they go that, in another 20 years, there's just going to be a bunch of Uber cars driving around. You're going to get into one and go to work. I'm like, yeah, well, that might happen. But there's still going to be a 71 Cuda sitting in the garage, for when you really want to drive.
Yeah, and some of those flying cars, they're going to have flames on them, or they're going to be
Ex-
personalized, right? So, yeah,
exactly.
I can remember when I was a kid, people used to say, when you start driving, there'll be flying cars. Well, that didn't happen, and things never moved quite as fast as some people would like to believe. And at the end of the day, this industry is coming off an exceptionally strong year. It's made new customers by the thousands. And I'm talking
Exactly.
about people that have never modified a car. So I think that's going to continue to power us forward. Certainly, we're planning for future growth within the Edelbrock Group. All these changes, the relocation, all that's about growth and making sure that we have a good foundation as a company. And there's going to be some great things ahead, some big announcements. We're certainly not in the shrink mode. We're in the growth mode.
Well, with that said, is there any like little tidbits you can some little things you can throw at us of what's coming?
Well, I would tell you that one of the big objectives we have is to get Edelbrock back to more of a racing hardcore brand. It's been known more as a street rod custom car brand, and we want to continue to embrace that. But that really drives off of being known as a hardcore race brand. They're directly connected. And so we want to make sure that while we retain the custom car and the street rod market and that brand awareness, that we get back to racing. That's my background. That's certainly the background of a lot of
Okay.
folks that are in this company. So you're going to see Edelbrock become a little more race focused, and we're going to crank out a lot of new product to support the race market, late model performance, and of course, we're going to keep driving on the street rod custom car market.
But I was watching Motor Trend last night. I was watching Street Outlaws Cash Days and Lizzie in the Camaro.
Lizzie Musi.
Yeah, Lizzie Musi with that big Edelbrock sticker on the front of the Camaro. And I'm sitting there, and I actually think it was the first time I actually saw big Edelbrock. And I'm like, oh, and I actually had this thought as I'm sitting there going, man, they should be there more because you're so like, and I agree with you because the brand has been so built with the street rod and high chrome and all this type of stuff to get back to the roots of performance. It's about drag racing and start hitting the big numbers. That's going to be insane. That's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, we're really excited about that relationship with not only Lizzie but her father Pat Musi, who is known for making big horsepower. The relationship actually goes very deep. It's an R&D relationship. So
Oh
we
wow.
have machinery in Pat Musi's shop. We call it the Edelbrock Race Center, and Pat is over there working on R&D for cylinder heads just about every day. So that's a big part of taking our product line and making sure that we have the right products for those hardcore racers.
Oh, that's going to be awesome. But listen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I didn't think you would respond that quickly because I thought you were going to be completely snowed under.
Well, it has been a very busy week, but I appreciate everything that you've done for us. And so I wanted to make sure to prioritize getting back with you.
Oh, thank
But
you.
it's at the end of the day, at least we've been able to get the right message out with the help of people like yourself. And I think people are starting to understand this is a good thing in the long run, not a bad thing at all. And it's going to make us a stronger business. And Brock's certainly not going anywhere. It's going to be around for my kids and many generations to come.
Exactly. Exactly. Listen, I know you're a busy guy, so you get back to work. It's 8 o'clock at night here, so I'm going to have a glass of wine. So you have a good one. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks.
Okay.
I appreciate it. It was great to talk to you. Take care.
You too, man. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.